is an established democratic principle that judges, through the power of judicial interpretation, are permitted to interpret and apply a written constitution, such as ours, in a manner that reflects and gives effect to changing priorities, values, and national focus. However, the scope of judicial interpretation as a means for accommodating deserving changes to a constitution is highly restricted in matters where a particular policy choice has been expressly stated in the language of the text of a constitution. In the Supreme Court case of Republic versus Fast Track High Court, Ex parte Daniels, 2003-2004 Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report, Cluj JSC said as follows, quote, "We cannot, under the cloak of constitutional interpretation, rewrite the Constitution of Ghana. Even in the area of statutory interpretation, we cannot amend a piece of legislation because we dislike its terms or because we suppose that the lawgiver was mistaken or unwise. Our responsibility is greater when we interpret the Constitution. We cannot and must not substitute our wisdom for the collective wisdom of the framers of the Constitution," unquote. The other limitation of constitutional amendment by judicial interpretation is that what judges may perceive as a new drift of national consensus may be disputed. Certain times, when the Supreme Court renders a decision that appears to dictate a particular policy choice said to be the intention of the framers of the Constitution, some vociferous sections of the society would challenge it and insist that the opposite of what the court said is a better policy choice for the country. To this end, I believe that while judicial interpretation may have a role in aligning our Constitution in penumbral areas left out of the constitutional text, since a Constitution cannot set out every conceivable circumstance and provide for it, after 30 years of existence, our Constitution requires certain significant reforms that can only be accomplished by resort to the amendment procedure in Chapter 25 of the Constitution. Gladly, the work of the Constitution Review Commission in 2010 resulted in a comprehensive report. While I do not intend to go through the findings and recommendations of the CRC, for they are well documented, it bears pointing out at least 3 key points of dissatisfaction Ghanaians expressed about the workings of the 1992 Constitution at the time of the consultations. These were: 1, deficit in transparent governance despite changing from dictatorship to constitutional rule in 1992. 2, continuous high levels of public sector corruption and lack of accountability for revenue from natural resource exploitation. 3, non-realization of real democratic dividend in the form of accelerated national development promised as attainable under constitutional rule. These were 3 key areas that Ghanaians said the Constitution had not lived up to what they expected. I will discuss the work of the CRC later on, but let me make the point here that since those consultations, Ghanaians continue to register their grievances with the governance under the 1992 Constitution and to call for amendments. The calls for constitutional reforms are getting louder of late and have spread to involve the younger generation, whose persistent failure to see a better future ahead of them after continuous changes of government appears to explain their awakening. It has dawned on many observers that as a nation we require something deeper than changing governments under the same Constitution, and that we need to take a hard look at the governance framework under our Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, the momentum that surrounds the recent calls for constitutional amendment must not be brushed off or given little consideration. There seems to be a new spirit of constitutional consciousness rising among us, the likes of which have never been experienced in this country. We need to open our ears widely to the loud whispers of this spirit and be sensitive to its guidance if we are to achieve a better quality of life for Ghanaians.